Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So what exactly is the point? We've learned at this point that these Trump indictments are political in nature. The Biden administration was involved with every single one of them, it seems, at some point in some fashion. And so obviously there had to be a point, right? Well, we know what the point was. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made it quite clear in that infamous interview.
And by the way, he's doing it in the South Bronx not to make a point, but because he's got court. And the man practically has the legal version of an ankle bracelet around him, and he can't leave the 5 boroughs because he always has to be in court. And so it is truly an embarrassment to him.
It's about keeping the Donald Trump campaign stuck in mud, unable to travel because of court dates coming up. That the intention was obviously to slow Donald Trump down, and of course the most sinister element, label him a felon, a convicted felon, and run with a fear-mongering message about how Donald Trump, the convicted felon, is coming to steal all your rights. Brand him John Gotti and Adolf Hitler combined, and ride it to an election win. Obviously that was the intention, that was the point, that's been the point since day one, since the Russia narrative spawned out of Hillary Clinton's hard drive. But despite it all, despite all the fear-mongering, the gaslighting, despite all the lies, despite all the witch hunts and the endless investigations, it seems as though the Democrats at the end of the day aren't going to get what they were hoping for. They're not getting what they put all their efforts in for and what they paid for. No, quite au contraire. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean. As the narrative implodes, we got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, not exactly the news that you were hoping to hear as an average CNN or MSNBC viewer. Take a look at this.
Think Trump did something illegal in the New York hush money case. I've been interested in whether or not these numbers would change at all during the course of this trial. Simply put, John, they have not. Pre-opening statements think Trump did something illegal, 46%. After the direct examination of Michael Cohen by the prosecution, look at where we are now, 46%. The percentage of Americans who think that the charges are very serious, in fact, dropped from 40% to a little bit more than 35% during the course of this trial. So, yes, perhaps things might have changed with those 12 jurors, but when it comes to the larger American public, there has been no change, at least so far, John.
Actually put out a new poll today that shows that the majority of Americans will not be swayed by this trial. They already aren't. More than half of the country views this as a political hit job, which is exactly what it is. And like I said, with every indictment, with every impeachment, Donald Trump has only grown stronger, and this game is not going to be any different.
After all the testimonies, after the whole case is played out, after all the media coverage and Robert De Niro's little ridiculous stunt after all of it, voters just don't care. They're more focused on important issues like the economy, inflation, immigration, foreign policy, drug policy, taxes. They're more focused on the things that matter rather than the ridiculous media theater that's currently being presented on the daily news. Nobody cares. Very few people view these charges as serious, and many of the polling data that we've seen recently suggest that if Donald Trump was convicted in this case, then it might make certain groups of voters even more likely to support him in the next election. More than half of the country, when surveyed, views the case as a political hit job, and the Trump camp obviously is leaning right in. Chris Rock tried to warn him, don't turn Donald Trump into Tupac Shakur, don't immortalize him, don't turn him into a martyr, but that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, these Trump campaign ads are just wow.
Thank you for joining us here today. Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts.
This case is an abomination. You know, it's obviously political. 7 years to try to come up with this case. They're just wrong on the law.
The only crime that Donald Trump is being prosecuted for is the crime of running for president.
Political persecution at the highest level.
They've quite frankly given up on trying to beat him at the polls. Either going to steal it or stop it by law firm.
A Democrat prosecutor elected on a Get Trump platform.
What's going on here is a disgusting disgrace.
This is the Democrats' entire strategy to confine President Trump to a dirty criminal courtroom and keep him off the campaign trail where he can bring his winning message to voters across this country.
New York has become a legal banana republic. They are so determined to get Donald Trump.
Look, convicting Donald Trump, that's all they have.
I think they have no cards, and they're depending upon Trump getting convicted.
That Trump train doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
The only verdict that matters is the verdict at the ballot box.
they have given him, honestly, a campaigning superpower. Joe Biden has nothing. They have no effective talking points. The DNC actors at MSNBC have even been strategizing about it on air recently.
Is they've started to draw the contrast. Obviously, the president is showing up in places. They have to move on from accomplishments and getting credit for accomplishments and make it all about the contrast of what a Biden and Trump presidency would be. You can see them moving into that stage, but I think there's a couple factors at play here, and it's really about bringing people home to who they pulled the lever for before.
We need to move away from accomplishments because, well, there aren't any, and focus on what's important. Donald Trump's an evil racist. Don't vote for him. Wow, great strategy, but anyways, the point still stands. They've got nothing other than whatever narratives they're attempting to build off of these court cases, which clearly those narratives aren't picking up. It's not working. They've got nothing, and they've handed Donald Trump a superpower, an ancient magical relic that can be used in an election season to give you some sort of infused power, the power of storytelling. Donald Trump actually has a story to tell, a story of persecution, a story of dealing with it all head on, taking it all, yet persisting and continuing to fight for the nation, for the good of the nation, to clean house and clean the corruption, an evil versus good dichotomy. They've given him that, and the Trump team's now been infused with tens of millions of dollars to continue building that narrative and spreading that message on millions of TV screens and device screens across the nation. It's a good story, and most importantly, it's an accurate story. It's a true story. Doug Burgum was speaking on Fox News. I think this is relevant to the point I'm trying to make. Take a look at this clip.
I mean, every American should be concerned. Every American should be afraid or scared, because if you can take a business filing records case and magically turn it into 34 felonies, I mean, I asked myself as a business person, I said, why isn't the courts in New York filled with CEOs? There's tens of millions of business records filings that have gone on in the last 7 years in that city. This is the only one where they've taken the CEO of a company and said, oh, we think this might be a felony charge. We're going to bring you in court for five weeks. I mean, there's not enough capacity in the judicial system. That's why these things are misdemeanors with a statute of limitation for 2 years. And here we are 7 years later trying to manufacture something out of this thing. And so, yeah, whatever comes out of this thing, the whole thing has been a travesty of justice. And I think that's what the American people see.
You know, I think it's very clear to every American. People are concerned. Place like New York City and Manhattan, place a global business hub. You've got tens of thousands of business people and entrepreneurs all essentially engaging in the same type of behavior, but only one of them gets hit with this twisted case in the midst of an election season as he's running for president, with charges that cannot be defined, with two witnesses who lied on the stand multiple times, and these supposed charges already passed the statute of limitations. I mean, he's the guy who gets hit with record falsification charges. Give me a break. The people can see right through it. Democrats were hoping for a massive dump Trump event throughout this primetime trial, but we've seen absolutely no movement. Donald Trump remains ahead of the race, actually quite significantly so. He's even pulling ahead here these days. As you can see on the spread in a 5-way race, it's all coming back to bite them in the buttocks. Backfire initiated. Who could have seen that one coming? Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.